You start like what my son was thinking. He just says, man, this is too hard. Maybe it would just be easier to pretend everything's fine. Oh man, this week reminded me just how hard doing the right thing can be. I'm going to tell you 3 eye-opening things about hardship here in the next few minutes. But first, I'm going to explain the backstory for a sec. So I was having a conversation with my son the other day, and he's in the middle of buying his first house, and it's been rough, like really rough. He's telling me banks are giving him the runaround, doors shutting on him, promises changing, people not calling him back, the whole deal. Just everything that could be complicated is complicated. And I asked him, just to kind of challenge him. I said, hey, why don't you just keep renting where you're at right now? Wouldn't that be easier? And he kind of laughed and he said, yeah, it would be easier. It's cheaper. I wouldn't have to deal with all this garbage, with the banks and stuff. But then he got real serious and he said, but I don't want easy. I want to own something. I want to invest in my future. So here's number 1. Remember, I said there's going to be 3 things. Modern culture is addicted to renting everything, including relationships. So you know what hit me right there when my son said that? Is that we're living in a culture addicted to renting everything, not just apartments, but commitments, relationships, even people's own identity. We want, people want the experience without the ownership, because ownership costs something. But nothing great ever got built by people who were just renting it for a season. So when my son said, but I don't want easy, I want to own something, I want to invest in my future, I really smiled, because that's what being a man is, isn't it? That's what being a husband is. That's what being a dad is. It's fighting through the hard stuff because you believe in something better on the other side. I know so many people that say they don't want to have kids, and I have 10 kids. I don't know if you know that. About half done with raising them. And people just say, man, I don't want to have kids because it's hard. And I go, it's like there's so many rewards to it. Yeah, it's hard, but it's so worth it, right? Because here's the thing, it's not just about houses, right? It's about life. It's about marriage. It's about raising kids. So take marriage, for example. There's going to be seasons, believe me, and maybe you're in one right now, where things are hard, where you and your wife just aren't clicking, where everything feels off. And that leads me to number 2. The real reason your marriage feels broken isn't because it's hard. It's because you just never expected it to be hard. Because here's the truth that nobody tells you. A good marriage isn't easy because it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to hurt sometimes. Growth feels like dying to the old version of you, because it is. You died. You gave yourself up. Pain doesn't mean you're failing. Pain means you're still building. We all remember that from high school sports, right? So the real danger isn't fighting. It's when you stop caring enough to fight. You know what I mean? You start thinking, you start like what my son was thinking. He just says, man, this is too hard. Maybe it would just be easier to pretend everything's fine. And that's what happens in marriage, pretending everything's fine, or to pull away, or maybe even walk away, right? And you know what? It would be easier in the short term. Just like renting is easier, just like giving up on the mortgage would be easier. But easier doesn't build anything. Easier doesn't leave a legacy. Easier doesn't change your family tree. It's when you fight, when you say, hey, let's go to marriage counseling. Let's have the hard conversations. Let's dig into this mess, even though it hurts, even though it's uncomfortable. That's when the real growth happens. And yeah, it's painful. Going to therapy can suck. It can feel like ripping open old wounds, because you got to talk about stuff you'd rather ignore. You got to admit places where you were wrong. You got to listen to hard truths. But man, just like buying a home, you're building something bigger than today's pain. You're investing in something that's going to matter, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when your kids are grown and they look back and they're like, hey, you know what? Mom and dad didn't quit when it got hard. They gave us this great marriage and this great life. They gave us this house that we're in. That's the kind of investment that pays off forever. Same thing with being a dad. It's easy to coast. It's easy to throw yourself into work and tell yourself you're doing it for the family when really you're hiding. It's easy to just be around, but not really present, right? The real fight, the real work, it's in the day-to-day, showing up. It's in being there when your Kids need to talk, even if you're tired, even if you had a brutal day. It's in asking for help when you don't know how to handle something. It's in fighting for relationships because you know they're worth it. And that leads me to number 3, which is being a great dad will break you first. And if it doesn't, you are doing it wrong. I know that's a controversial one there, but if you're not second guessing yourself and sometimes feeling like a complete failure, you're probably not showing up for your kids at the level they actually need. I know it's brutal to hear, because the best dads aren't the ones who feel confident all the time and are like, oh man, I'm doing this right. They're the ones that they're fighting through the doubt, the fear, the exhaustion, because they know presence matters more than perfection. Okay. So if fatherhood isn't wrecking your ego, you're playing it safe. And your kids are going to feel it. They're going to sense that because they know, right? So listen, if today you're feeling worn out, if you're in the middle of something really, really hard and you're just, I don't know, tempted to just throw in the towel because it would be so much easier, I just want to remind you, easy is tempting, but easy doesn't change anything. The hard path, the one where you fight, the one where you sweat, where you cry, where you wrestle through it, that's the path where you build something you could be proud of. So hang in there, keep fighting. You're building something bigger than today's struggle. And one day, just like my son's gonna one day stand in his own house with his keys in his hand and look around and say, man, this was worth it. You're gonna look at your family, your marriage, your life, and you're gonna say, yeah, this was hard, but it was worth every single minute.